different here, so it's um, coordinating a couple computers together. For this quarter's webinar, I really wanted to do something different. I wanted to take a departure from planning somewhat and talk about a very common retirement lifestyle goal, international travel. Fortunately, we have Paige Adams with us today. Paige worked with us for several months during the time she shared with us some of her overseas travel experiences. Upon hearing her stories, I realized it'd be fun to hear her talk about her international travel during one of our webinars. I will be monitoring for questions and asking Paige to pause from time to time to make sure we have some of your questions answered. So please join me in welcoming Paige to this quarter's presentation.
Hello, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about some of the secrets to international travel. Inside our guide today, we're going to discuss why we travel, how to plan for your accommodations, doing some research prior to your traveling, budgeting, shopping, safety, and COVID-19 testing. So with fewer travel restrictions in place, Americans have found themselves eager to plan their next destination post-pandemic. Did you know that during the pandemic, fewer than 1 million Americans traveled internationally in April and May of 2020? Another fun fact is that only 1 out of 3 Americans actually have a passport. American passports are one of the most valuable passports with visa-free entry into 188 countries, while Afghan has the least valuable passport with visa-free access into only 26 countries. So why do we travel? Well, it's important to travel in order to experience cultures outside of your own. Traveling can expose you to different customs that you might like to adopt into your own lifestyle. Example, like in Spain, dinner is served much later than in the United States, or in the United Kingdom, breakfast is often savory compared to sweet, like in the US. When you travel internationally, you take home knowledge from a different country, whether it's a historical fact or a food dish that you've never heard of. But most importantly, you inspire other people to travel, resulting in a world that's more cultured, and plus you get to relax. So determining where you'll stay is the most important part of traveling. Some of the most popular options include hotel stays, resorts, or more recently, Airbnb or Vrbo vacation rentals. In hotels, some people prefer to stay in the big name hotels that they're likely to have stayed in the US, like a Marriott, the Hilton, or the Four Seasons. This gives people a level of comfort that they'll receive familiar service, and they're likely to encounter services that are customary in the US, such as a continental breakfast with your stay. Others might like to take advantage of the point system that hotels and credit cards offer to repeat guests. In resorts, they're often best when you prefer relaxation and convenience, because resorts offer meal and drink packages, entertainment selections, and private pools and beaches. The list goes on. However, staying at a resort might limit your chance to see attractions of a new city or meet local people and be immersed in a different culture, or even try authentic cuisine, because resorts tend to Americanize their food selections. Here's a tip. If you're looking for a romantic getaway, you might like to consider an adults-only resort where children are not welcomed as guests. As far as Airbnb, it gives you more opportunity to have more control over your trip as far as where you'll dine, sightseeing, and activities. You often have the opportunity to stay in accommodations that range from an apartment in the basement of a home to private villas with 10 bedrooms. The Airbnb app also allows you to book excursions hosted by locals. For an example, when I traveled to Barcelona, I booked a 2-hour guided tour of the Gothic Quarter for $30. Airbnbs can be scary for some people, so be sure to bring your own safety measures, such as a doorstop or alarm. Always take note of the environment outside of your Airbnb and read the reviews before booking. Always secure your valuables or do not bring them at all. Did you know that sometimes hotels post their rooms on Airbnbs? Let's talk about doing some research. Here are the 4 C's: climate, crime, currency, and culture. So not every destination has seasons that align with the US's typical winter, spring, summer, fall. For example, our winter is summer in the Philippines. So when booking, research the weather first. If you're hoping to avoid crowds, beware that summer for most countries is a peak travel season. Also, make note of any political issues that might be occurring in a country as it pertains to your travel, such as airline strikes or civil unrest. Always check on any health restrictions of a country too, such as vaccine mandates or COVID testing. If you're interested, you can go to travel.state.gov under the COVID-19 country-specific info. Be sure to research the crime rates in areas that you're staying in. Always see if the area you're planning to visit is tourist-friendly or if locals recommend avoiding it. And be aware of tourist traps or scams such as tickets to enter a certain attraction, as it could be free. Most countries accept major credit cards that we have in the US, and some also accept US dollars. However, you should be sure to prepare to exchange some US currency for foreign dollars in the event that you run into a cash-only situation. Airports always offer exchange stations where you can swap out your dollars for a small fee, but be sure to compare this fee to ATM fees because sometimes an ATM can be cheaper and more convenient. Here's a tip. If you're purchasing something, always pay in the local currency at the point of sale to avoid high conversion fees. Allow your credit card company to do the conversion, which generally comes at a lower fee. And culture. Always be respectful of another country's culture. Let's face it, most people will know you're a tourist, so you can expect some grace. However, be prepared to learn and adapt. Example, if you're visiting a religious site, some women may be asked to cover their hair. Oftentimes in European countries, shops are closed on Sunday. Dinner's often served later in other countries. And handshaking may be something that's a little bit, awkward for other people in different countries. All right, let's talk about what we all want to get to, budgeting. So budgeting correctly can make or break a good trip. Like saving for a car or a house, it's always best to start early. Be sure to set realistic timelines for when you plan to travel and determine which elements will cost the most, because nowadays it's usually airfare. This time we'll focus on 4 categories that you should be prepared for when traveling. Your stay, how you're getting there and where you plan to stay. Dining, are you having street food or local restaurants or trying a 5-star dining experience? Fun, are you going shopping, sightseeing, boating, swimming with dolphins? And an emergency, what would you do if your flight home was canceled and the airline's not going to provide accommodations? Planning your stay. If you're able to solidify travel dates early on, I recommend budgeting for air travel first because getting there is half the battle. If you plan far enough in advance, you might be able to catch low ticket prices and be prepared to consider airlines that you may not have heard of, especially in European travel. Look up the airline's policy, including luggage, because some airlines charge extra for carry-on luggage. Are you planning to visit more than one city while traveling? Depending on the distance, you'll have to schedule air or train or car travel between the cities, so be sure to plan for your luggage. Sometimes planes flying a short distance will not include luggage in the price. Or perhaps you're going to a country where you can travel in between islands. You might like to consider ferry travel if you don't get seasick. This often comes at an affordable price and can be more convenient than air travel. Next, we'll talk about budgeting for your stay. Determine your non-negotiables upfront, such as visiting a certain country, the type of accommodation you want to stay in, if a pool or certain restaurants have to be on the property, or if your location will be close to a certain activity. Also compare prices from staying in hot spots, which are usually downtown locations, versus areas surrounding your desired location. Just think of the price comparison to a hotel that is beachfront versus one that's a mile or 2 from the beach. And if you're planning to travel with friends, you might want to set up a designated person to collect funds and book the stay so that everyone's on the same page. Some places, like hotels, may offer a discount for booking in advance instead of paying at the property. If you're planning far enough ahead of time, take advantage of deposit opportunities to secure your stay and allocate money each pay period towards your trip account. It's time to eat. Good food options can also make or break a trip for some people, like myself. If you're planning on staying in a resort, check for all-inclusive meal and drink options. Or if you're staying at a hotel, Do prior research to see if breakfast is offered during your stay or if there are restaurant options on the premises. Both can cut down on costs, such as food and traveling to other restaurants. Staying at Airbnbs could be the least expensive option as far as food if you plan to cook your own meals, or the most expensive if you're going to eat at a restaurant for every meal. Here's another tip. Decide what your most important meal is during vacation. For me, mine is dinner, and research restaurants nearby and menus in advance, and always make a reservation if you're able to. Allow yourself to have a dinner budget and opt for more affordable options for breakfast and lunch, like a local cafe or food from street vendors. Time to have fun. Always try your best to plan and book excursions in advance. Many companies offer discounts for advanced and online booking and can be more trustworthy. Always read the company's reviews. Consider doing activities that are new to you. They might come at a surprisingly good cost. Again, in Spain, I booked a paella making class through Airbnb experiences. Again, you don't have to have a stay booked through Airbnb to enjoy the experiences. It was around $30 and I had enough for lunch and dinner. Always allow yourself to have a fun budget. I believe that it's best to book as much as possible prior to traveling. That way there's no worries when actually traveling. Also, traveling in a group can cut down on the price tremendously, as many activities offer group discounts, or the total cost of something will decrease significantly when it's split evenly amongst a few people. If you don't have your international driver's license, which can range from about $20 to $60, although some countries don't require that you have this, like Mexico. And if you don't have a rental car or you just prefer not to drive, opt for excursions that provide transportation. This can definitely cut out the cost of unpredictable taxi fare. Now let's talk about something that's not so fun, emergencies. So what happens if things go south? Are you prepared both financially and physically? Let's look at a scenario. You have a flight from Spain to New York with a layover in Portugal. Your flight from Portugal is delayed and you miss your connection from Portugal to New York. The next plane doesn't go out until the morning. Most airlines will provide you with a meal voucher and a hotel room, but what if they don't? Even if they do, you'll need to pay for transportation to the hotel or to a restaurant to eat if the one in the airports are closed. This scenario happened to me. Although my hotel stay and dinner voucher was provided by the airline, I had to pay $100 for a 24-hour COVID test at the airport testing station because the next plane wasn't leaving for 24 hours. I also had to pay for lunch and dinner the next day with my own funds. I was also left with my carry-on luggage that did not contain any toiletries or my glasses. It's important to set aside emergency funds when planning your travel budget so that if you're caught in a tricky situation, you're prepared. Luggage is also another case that catches people by surprise. Are you financially prepared to purchase clothes, toiletry, makeup, and so on in the event that your luggage is lost or stolen? Always be sure that you're packing within the weight limits too, so that you don't have to pay for overweight luggage. Keep this in mind when initially packing and also when shopping in another country. Always keep your valuable items in a mini bag of toiletries and medicine in your carry-on so that you're not without in the event that something happens. Let's talk about traveling solo. Sometimes this can be a fun experience and a great getaway for people that want to relax or have some time and space to experience a new culture or country on their own. Always be sure to practice extra safety precautions when traveling solo and be mindful of your surroundings and your budget. Example, if you're traveling alone, you might opt to stay in a smaller hotel room, which can come at a more affordable price. You'll also be able to pick the space that you're most comfortable with. When traveling alone, you only have to account for your schedule. So this can alleviate a lot of stress for some people who want to get away from their life at home. You'll be free to try new things on your own or relax how you see fit. People love to go overseas for shopping because you're often able to find better deals since the cost of shipping to the US is factored out of the sales price. You also might like to purchase items that are exclusive to a certain country, like specialty wines, snacks, or spices. If you plan to shop, save this for the last few days so that you won't have to choose between eating and buying a new purse. When shopping in Europe, depending on the purchase amount, you'll be able to receive a tax refund known as a VAT. You can register your purchases at the airport and receive your refund via direct deposit. Now let's talk about navigating the airport. So if you're traveling internationally, you'll have to go through customs and immigration to have your passport scanned, and you'll have to declare items that are over a certain limit depending on the country. But keep this in mind that you'll have to do the same process when you return to the US. Declaring items allows custom agencies to track what's imported and exported in a country, to keep out forbidden goods, and place a tax on items that are over a certain value. Here's a tricky one. If there's going to be a change of planes, sometimes you'll have to recollect your checked luggage and recheck it in, which is usually cost-free. So when checking in your bag, the airline representative will usually make note on your luggage that it's traveling to your final destination. So in this case, you will have to pick it up between flights, or that it will land at your layover airport. In this case, you'll have to get your luggage and recheck it in. Set a reminder on your phone or place a note in your passport to pick up your bags. As mentioned before, when buying goods over a certain amount in some countries, you'll have a chance to receive a VAT refund at the airport. Be sure to collect the VAT form from your cashier at the time of checkout when you're purchasing goods. When in the airport, always allow for time before checking in your flight to register your VAT refund. You have to do this before you pass through security. Otherwise, you'll have to do the process by mail, which can be very slow and confusing. Be sure that you have easy access to the items that you purchased, as sometimes the VAT officers will ask to see the item to ensure that the VAT refund form is legitimate. After passing security, and usually before entering the duty-free department, locate the VAT registration desk, where you'll find an agent who will set you up to receive a direct deposit of your refund, or cash if you like. Let's talk about some travel safety. So tourists can be some of the most targeted groups abroad. So here are some tips to ensure your safety. Number 1, leave your valuables at home. When traveling, you never know who is watching you and who has access to what, such as your room or luggage. Eliminate the probability of being robbed by leaving flashy and expensive items at home. If you must bring them, consider bringing a lock for your suitcase or keeping items on you as much as possible, like a priceless necklace. But beware that even though you keep the item on you, you could become a target when you're outside of the hotel property. Number 2, always analyze the surrounding before going into anything. Yes, that means do not go down the dark alley at night, even if it's a shortcut to where you're going. Even when checking into your hotel, do a thorough sweep of the room for anything that could be alarming safety or health-wise. Make note of the elevator and stair locations, the proximity of transportation to your hotel. If you're in a country that you plan on getting around by bus, just make note of the distance between the bus stop and your stay. And maybe don't use the bus late at night. Health-wise, are you heading into a crowded space? Do you need to wear your mask to protect yourself and others, or do you need to completely avoid the space? Number 3, as we mentioned before, try to avoid tourist traps. So many tourists can fall into traps that they don't realize are scams. Always alert any law enforcement about the scam that's going on, and be sure to tell other members of your group that you're traveling with to steer clear. So during the middle of the pandemic, it was really hard to find and locate facilities both in the US and abroad that conducted COVID-19 testing. Most countries required a negative test within 24 to 72 hours of traveling to the country, and some would not accept rapid tests. Although testing centers have become more available, be sure to do your research from the country's government health department website or the US's embassy website, travel.state.gov. Be sure to verify if rapid tests are acceptable for certain countries. If you're staying at a resort and sometimes hotels, pop-up COVID testing sites could be available. Check the property's website and any fees associated with testing. Or if you're staying at an Airbnb or a hotel that doesn't provide COVID testing, do research on testing sites that are nearby and their costs, or contact your Airbnb host or the hotel concierge to see if they're aware of any nearby testing sites. Let's stay connected. There are a few connections you'll need to make when preparing for travel. Be sure to call your bank and credit card company to let them know that you'll be traveling abroad for whatever amount of days so that the charges do not pop up as fraudulent. If you forget to do this, most banks will text you or call you to let you know of suspicious activities on your card. Then they'll just put you through a simple verification process. Be sure to inform your phone carrier that you're going to be traveling abroad for a period of time and purchase overseas service, such as 5G and texting capabilities. Your plan might give you an allowance of minutes and wireless service gigabytes for the duration of your trip. On most smartphones, the time will automatically change over. So if you're traveling with any wristwatch or alarm clocks, just be sure to change them over as well. And be sure to change the weather over on your smartphone too. So always do your part to bring back an element of your travel into your lifestyle. Whether it's a new language, a new custom, a special gift, or a new recipe, traveling and bringing back traditions from other countries is what helps people stay connected around the world and helps us stay open to other cultures and societies. Thank you all for joining our webinar, and we're going to open the floor to some questions that you might have. If you all would like, just you can enter your questions in the chat box that should be at the bottom of your Zoom. Chris, do you have any questions for me? Maybe everyone's shy.
Yeah, we'll just wait another minute or two, and if we don't have any questions, we'll close it out. But certainly, we enjoyed having Paige's perspective and listening to her experiences and what she's learned in the secrets of international travel. It's a big goal, not a big goal, but yeah, it can be for lots of my clients. When we talk about what are our big expenses in retirement, we hear that it's international travel. So.
Lisa, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Actually, I have several questions, so I guess I'll just take one and give you one now and let somebody else have a chance.
Sure.
Could you explain a little more thoroughly what you were talking about? I didn't catch it all towards the beginning about how to exchange for local currency at the airports and that what country you're traveling to. And then you talked about whether to use the credit card or ATM. And I didn't understand how that all related and what the best deal was, how to make that work.
Yes. So sometimes there'll be like a kiosk to where you can get, I don't know, have you ever been to Arundel Mall? Like how you see the money exchange kiosk? So it'll be something similar to that, but just in the airport. So they have a conversion rate and a fee that they charge you for using the service. Like most recently, when I just came back from Greece in late August, and the dollar and the euro were around the same price. So I'm thinking, oh, it's not going to be that much to go to the conversion desk, or excuse me, the money exchange desk, but they actually do charge you their own fee, even if the currency, is equal like it was with the euro and the dollar at the time. So I just compared the fee from what the currency exchange desk was to the ATM fee. And the ATM that happened to be there, because they have like different kinds of ATM. You'll have a Bank of America ATM and so on. The ATM happened to be cheaper. So that's just something that, you could run into a situation like that.
Okay, and you mentioned something about a credit card in that context, if I recall.
Yes.
Didn't you not?
Yep, that was a little later. So with the credit card, when you go, this is another thing to note too. So typically when you come to like a US, I'll just use a restaurant, for example. They take your card and they go to the back and they run it, they do whatever. But when you're in Europe specifically, they'll bring out like a little, it almost looks like a giant 80s phone, but it's a little point of sale system where you can swipe your card and you do it all in front of you. Like they charge your card all in front of you. So on there, you'll notice it'll say pay in your currency, US dollars, or pay in local currency. So if you decide to pay in local currency, that's better because your card is going to charge in euros or whatever, but then your bank is going to charge you a smaller fee because, you know, you're their customer, they like you, they want to keep you. They're going to charge you a smaller fee to convert it to US dollars. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Whereas at the point of sale, if you're paying in US currency, the sales system has to, you know, be able to cover themselves and they're going to charge you a higher fee if you're choosing to convert at the point of sale versus later through your card service.
Oh, okay. Oh, also, I want to say that you mentioned, I see that Chris is asking a question in the chat box, but on my screen anyway, it says chat disabled. I don't know if anybody's able to respond. I'm not.
Not sure. Oh, I see someone coming through I see you, David. I'm not sure how to enable the chat. I know I can enable people to talk, but not to type, which is weird. Well, do you see where it says Q&A?
I had it up, but I actually got out of that screen. Yeah, no, I don't see it. It's not up anymore. I X'd out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead with your other questions, Lisa. So far, you're the only.
Oh, now I see the Q&A. Oh, now I see it.
Yeah, if you're able
to,
if you can have questions, you can type them in the Q&A part instead of the chat box.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
I do, but if you want to go to somebody else, you can, because I do have some more though. But you can go to somebody else if you want.
That's okay. So I guess now that we know how to work the chat box, we can continue with a few more of your questions till someone else types something.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What was the other question? Oh, when you were talking about how if you buy some souvenirs or goods overseas, and then you go to the airport and you get something from the salesperson, some kind of VAT receipt, and then you go to the airport and you find the VAT desk. All that is completely foreign to me. I've traveled overseas a few times and I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never seen this. Yeah.
No, the first time I ever traveled to Europe, I didn't register it. I didn't know what it was. And then the next time I actually decided to ask and say, hey, what is this? And they're like, oh, you'll get the tax that you paid here, you'll get them back at the airport. I'm like, okay, well, I want those. Yeah. So it's basically like, let's say there's like, well, everything's already going to be discounted. Well, most things will be discounted. Like I like to shop a lot. That's kind of my issue. So let's say I buy a nice pair of shoes that, in the US, they might be $500, but in Portugal, they're $400. I'm already getting that discount, but even included in that $400 price is the tax, the local tax for Portugal, wherever I am in Portugal. Last time I was in Lisbon. So I'm not going to pay that because I'm not a citizen there. So when I go to the airport, I get the tax that I paid back at the airport.
Oh,
yes.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, now it's only over certain amounts. Like you're not going to get the tax back on like something that only maybe costs like 40 or 50 euros. But if you if you plan on shopping things, I think the budget is usually like over $200 US dollars that you get the tax back. So that's something to consider if you like to do like designer shopping, or you're planning on buying something that's kind of like antique or cool. They usually just give it to you automatically. Honestly, it'll kind of like the teller will get a pamphlet or get like a signal on their point of sale machine that says give tax refund or something. So they'll just ask for your passport and they'll put the information in, and then they'll give you the, I guess, like ticket to kind of redeem for the taxes at the airport.
Okay, and is this pretty common at most airports, or is this just a European thing?
So far I've only done some traveling in Europe. I know they have the option. I had a friend that just came back from the Philippines. They have the option there to do it. And I'm planning on traveling to Morocco in May, and they have an option to do it there as well.
Okay, and so if I'm shopping in Portugal for those designer shoes and I go to pay my bill in the shop, will the salesperson know what I'm talking about if I ask for some kind of
Oh, yes.
VAT form?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yay. We have
You know
one.
what that was?
Oh, go ahead.
That was all the questions I had. That was all the questions I had, actually.
Yay. Okay, we just got another one that came in from David. Another recommendation is to, this is a recommendation for everyone from David. Another recommendation is to split clothing and outfits between suitcases in case one is lost or delayed in transit. I also recommend carrying an additional outfit in your carry-on luggage for emergencies. Also, AirTags are extremely valuable. Yes, I agree with all this. I actually just most recently started using AirTags, and it gives me some peace of mind, but I was talking to my mom and she's like, okay, well, you can know where your luggage is, but you still don't have it. So I know that can be kind of like, okay, well, what's the point? But I think it does give you some peace of mind that, hey, my luggage is at the same airport that I'm at, or, it's not far away. Just try to hide the AirTag in a piece of your luggage that's like not super noticeable. So in case, I don't know, someone unfortunately takes your luggage, that they're not, going to get rid of your AirTag. Chris is asking everyone too what your favorite place to visit was. I think my favorite place, and you've probably noticed that I mentioned a lot in my presentation, was Spain. I went to Marbella and I really, really loved it. It was kind of like LA mixed with Miami in terms of like weather and kind of being close to the water and the beach, but it was super calm. It wasn't like, super a lot of crowds or anything. But I also went in December, so that could kind of contribute to it being so calm. We have a few minutes left if anybody else has any questions. Here's another tip from David. Also highly recommend making copies of all valuable documents, your passport, credit and debit card, license, and keep a copy at home in a safe place, and one with you separate for the actual documents in case the actual documents are lost or stolen. You'll never remember the credit card number, phone numbers, passport numbers, etc. without them. Yes, I agree too. I'm a picture girl, so I take pictures of everything. I know sometimes people can be like a little, oh, what if your phone gets hacked? I'm kind of willing to take that chance sometimes. But I take pictures of my license. I don't take pictures of my credit and debit card because I actually have Apple Pay on my phone, so it's saved there. But I do have a picture of my license and my passport. Chris, do you have any questions for me?
I want to say thank you to Paige for putting this together. I think she did a really good job of, giving us some secrets and also helping with questions. And I'm really looking forward to putting it on the website so that others can listen to it again or just get some international experience via the web presentation. So thank you for doing this presentation, Paige. Really appreciate you coming back and hosting this for us. And with that, we will let you go.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.